Uh-oh, guys, we're here to discuss a question which some of you probably aren't going to like. Here's the deal. Let me start with a disclaimer about the question, okay? I'm not here to tell you or to even tell you that pornography is a good thing or a bad thing. But the question, why is porn good, is a question that has to be one that is asked and answered by anybody who's stuck in it. Otherwise, they're only seeing one side of the equation. They're only hitting why it's bad, and they won't understand why their motivations are to keep going to it. Okay, so we start with this question, why is porn good? Some time ago, I was at a convention, and when I go to conventions and seminars, a lot of times I'm just searching inward. I developed this trait when I was a kid. We would move around a lot. My father was in the military, and I started going on trips and to seminars and things, and every time we moved, every time I'd go, it was like an opportunity for me to leave the world that I was behind for a moment and to take on a new persona and to see things from a different perspective. So here I am in this convention. And I get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm out on the lawn in the misty San Diego morning, and I'm exercising and I'm doing some things. And this question arises in my mind. And the question was, did I like looking at pornography? And the answer was hard for me to admit to myself, because this is a while ago. And I admitted it to myself. I said, yes, I actually did like it. And then the next question came, well, why did I like it? Now, here's the thing. Now, most of the time when it came to pornography, we weren't allowed, when I was going to 12-step programs and other places, it wasn't a safe place for me to step up and say, like, I really like pornography. I like masturbation. I like these things. I couldn't say those things, and the reason I couldn't say them is because it was taboo. I was trying to leave that place. It's not okay to like the place that you're leaving or to even see value in where you're at. The fact of the matter is pornography doesn't work for my life. Masturbation doesn't work for my life. Not in the least. It destroys most of the things I hold dear. And it does for most of the guys that I talk to. Okay? For real. It destroys a person's capacity to interact with another human being on a level that's beyond just a transaction, where we're not just using them for pleasure or for pain or to get something out of them. Because it trains your mind to think of people that way and to seek something that is purely selfish out of the relationship. So I wasn't allowed to say that, but here I was on the lawn doing workout, like sweating, like doing some other stuff, and then this question comes out of the blue as I'm thinking about things and trying to figure out where I'm going with business and with life and whatnot, because I always bring up these existential questions. And the answer was, yes, I did like pornography. Then the next question was, why? And I realized in that moment that when I was able to admit that I enjoyed looking at it, I could see what I was getting out of it. Because seeing what I was getting out of it enabled me to have a way out. And I realized it made me feel alive. It made me feel wanted and desired by another being. And it allowed me to feel a kind of pleasure that I really wanted to feel in my life. And so then the next question that came out of this was, okay, well, where else in my life do I get those kinds of feelings? Feelings of being wanted, feelings of being totally 100% alive. And then all of a sudden, I saw some things that I could do. I saw some activities I could engage in. I saw some people that I could involve in a relationship more. I saw so many things in my life that I could do to actually get what pornography was giving to me. But without being willing to admit that I was getting something out of porn, I couldn't actually see another way of getting the things that I was getting out of it. And see, most of the guys I talked to, me too, like, porn was an escape. Like, life was horrid. I hated myself. I was super ashamed about who I was and what I did, because I started at a young enough age that my religion preached against it, and I'm not saying that this is necessarily bad. I don't endorse pornography at all. I think it destroys a lot of people really quickly. But we still get good out of it, or we wouldn't be going back to it. And I had to admit to myself, it gave me a chance to escape. It allowed me to feel good when I hated myself most days, right? It took over my system so that there was just this intense pleasure and this intense excitement and this intense other stuff going on inside me, so that I didn't have the space and mental capacity to think about the problems I had in my life or how boring life was. A lot of times we're bored. We're just craving pleasure or craving some other kind of excitement. And we're not getting it. I wasn't getting it. And so pornography became this place where I could go. I hated the feelings that came afterward, but still, apparently the excitement that it gave me was worth going back through those feelings. And you see, if you're somebody who's struggling with pornography, or somebody you know is struggling from pornography, if you show up and you start condemning them because they're engaged in pornography, what you're doing is taking away from them the one thing that is giving them the capacity to cope with their life most of the time. And it's not just porn, it's drugs, it's anything else that is a compulsive behavior or addictive. People walk by and inhale half a bag of chips without even noticing it. Yeah. Like, if you just took that away and you started like shaming them for it, what do? You take away the one thing that is helping them cope in some way with their life. There is good that comes of pornography only in the sense that it helps a man survive. And if he didn't have porn, he'd probably go to something else. All of them are addictions. And if you can sit there and continuously focus on what the bad that it does without recognizing the good that they're getting out of it, then they won't have an avenue of seeing where else they could get that good in a more healthy way that would work for their life. Why is porn a good thing? I'm not saying that in the long run it's good or bad, but it works for a man. It destroys relationships in the long run. But in the short term, it gives a man something that he couldn't get any other way. It helps him cope with his life. And when he can learn to look into his life, to start to stabilize it and start to process the things going on in his life, then we can get somewhere by just asking ourselves this question about why porn? Out of that one little exercise session and this question that arose up in my mind, I started crying. Like it was this emotional release for me because I was finally able to admit that yes, it did spark things that I enjoyed in myself, and also see that what I was searching for wasn't porn in the first place. And that was a huge relief to me, to know that I wasn't seeking for pornography, that wasn't my ultimate motive, but what I was looking for was excitement, adventure, a chance to feel alive and to feel like I belonged on this planet. And seeing that helped heal me of this sense of shame and brokenness a little bit that I had in myself. Feeling like, oh yeah, I'm just that porn addict. No, I'm going to porn because it's a solution. That's the only solution I had at the time that worked efficiently. And the only reason a person gets tempted to go back to it once they're free is because their life is a little bit overwhelming, and that was the last solution that worked really well. You got to come up with new solutions. For me to be able to see that I wasn't looking for porn in the first place gave me options and gave me a chance to see what was in my life much more clearly. So when you're condemning somebody who's a porn addict, or if you yourself are feeling like this, condemned and shamed, I'd have you consider, what is porn doing for you? Or what is whatever addiction or habit you've got doing for you? And then ask the next question. What else in my life gives me that? And you might start to find a road out. So this is Bob Gardner from LiberatedMan.com. If you want real coaching and a real understanding of what it takes to start to be free of addiction completely, any kind of addiction, any kind of place where you feel stuck in your life, go to LiberatedMan.com. There I speak from the space of my own addiction of 18 years in pornography and a broken marriage and a lot of other things that we had to overcome. But whatever struggles you're having in your life, go there. We can get you started. There's some videos to consider, and we'll get on the phone and talk.